Hey you guys, it's your girl Josh coming back to you from Real Takes. Today I'll be doing a review to the movie titled Wildling. Now, before I jump into this, I did watch the trailer a couple weeks back and I knew it was coming out this month. And when I saw the title, that intrigued me first and foremost because when I think of Wildling, I know it's considered of sorts like some sort of werewolf of sorts. I love thrillers. I've always said I love horror. And secondly, I found out that Liv Tyler and of course Brad Dourif in this, so that actually made me more excited to watch this. So I had a chance to watch it a couple of days ago, and I can say first and foremost I actually enjoyed this a lot. So you know what? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. Now for this particular movie, like I said, Brad Dourif is in it. His character's played called Daddy. We have Liv Tyler who plays the actual sheriff named Ellen Cooper, and then of course we have the girl titled Anna, played by Belle Poley. I hope I'm saying her name correctly. First and foremost, this overall storyline, the way it was depicted in this movie, I will say at times the pacing, was kind of slow, steady, and all that. I can say the first part of it being that we're kind of getting understanding this girl basically has been sheltered. She has been raised where she has been in sort of a captivity. She, from what they show from a flashback, it shows a part where Daddy, played by Brad, has basically killed other wildlings and all that, and he was able to get his hands on her, whatever, and raise her just as if she's just an infant and up until her teens. Now, I like the way it kept showing scenes of him, of course, bonding with the little girl, having those moments where it's her birthday, of course, making sure she's reading, she knows how to write things. She has drawings up inside where it looks like there's some secluded, like a house that's in the basement or whatever. Because if you see parts of the movie, you see her holding on to railings, whatever, where she has to get up on some type of box to look out to see the trees, whichever. And we see a couple scenes where you see, of course, the trees, and you see where it's snowing, whatever. So she's never to go out. Now, there's a scene where you notice that he's talking to a gentleman, and he's claiming he's retired. He's just doing this, he's just kind of doing his own thing. If she tries to go to the door, she gets kind of like electric shock. And he tells her, don't go out. Those wildlings, he always describes them with the sharp teeth. It's just, they'll try to take the kids. You're the last kid. So has all these certain types of ways to keep her kind of in line and kind of, scared, to even consider going outside if she ever got out. And besides that, kind of shows time, of course, passes. She's getting older, and there's a scene where she obviously starts to have her cycle, and he realizes, okay, she's hitting adolescence, she's getting to the age, she's starting to change, her body's changing, and he knows what that is, the situation of what can happen. Of course, she doesn't know what's going on, so she just thinks, what's happening, what did I do with her, and all. So of course he clears the sheets and all. He ends up coming in the following day to give her a shot. Now, this shot, she doesn't know what it is. She thinks it's going to take care of the pain, whatever. But he basically is using this shot to kind of halt her adolescence, her progression of growing and whichever, because he knows the real reasoning as to why that would not be possible. So there's a scene where, of course, he's talking to her and all that, and she's like, still having issues, and it shows her stomach, and you can see from all the amount of prods, because when he said that he was going to be giving her this shot, he said he was going to start giving her this shot every single day. So when he pulls up her shirt, you can see the amount of punctures from all the needles in her stomach. You could tell she's eventually kind of getting a little sick, whatever, and he feels guilty. So he decides he's going to basically take her life, and in an instance, he realizes he can't do it. He's basically had a bond with her that he is trying to commit suicide. So it doesn't bode well. So it shows her, of course, waking up. She's actually in a hospital. She, doesn't realize where she's at, and then she tries to leave and run up to the top of the building, and she sees all the stuff she never got to see up close because she's always been hidden inside of a room. And of course, they bring her down, they restrain her, she wakes up and she sees, and she's introduced to Liv Tyler's character, Ellen. And they have a little talk how they are trying to verify, any family. They're going to do some tests, and until they get any more verification, she's going to stay with her and make sure she's okay. So of course, she takes her home. She's introduced to the brother of Ellen's character, and then from there, I want to say his name is Ray, excuse me. They just kind of at first don't mesh because he's kind of like a loner or whatever, and all the way he's acting, because he's doing some things probably at school, whatever, so he doesn't really take a shine to her. But I love the parts where it shows her bonding a little bit with Ellen. Of course, she's feeding her, and when you see her eating, she likes to eat, just the meat. She didn't care for the bread, whatever, and all that. You can just kind of I don't know how other people felt, but watching, I could tell, okay, those tendencies of what she really is are kind of coming out in the way she's carrying herself, like when she's eating. Just straight meat. Doesn't want anything else. Meat, 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 meat. And from there, this kind of shows her, going through her every day. She's trying to get her to go to school, which was rather funny to me. It's like this girl has not been at any of these type of schools. She does have some school and she can read with it and all that, but she just throws her into a school, which I thought was really funny how they just did that. Like, how is that supposed to work? She's been locked up for years since she was a little girl, but it is what it is. And it shows her kind of gravitating to reading articles, understanding where she's at, and looking at the Northern Lights pictures, and just kind of understanding what's going on, the things that her daddy told her. And then from there, showing her a little bit of bonding, with, Ray, and then seeing some of the issues he's dealing with, some, bullying at school, and you have the girls who are, little cliques, making comments about her. And of course, one other thing, her hearing, very acute. She catches them on turns and kind of catches them off guard, and they kind of leave. Then you see just her sitting, on the top of the house, whatever is outside, whatever, and just looking at the noise, the loudness, and of course they come across a situation where she runs into a girl who invites her to a party. Just she forgets about it. She's having a moment with Ray, and she's like, "What is that?" What's that? He's like, "It looks like my son's party." She's like, "Party?" He's like, "Oh, this is a girl." She's like, "Jen, I know her," and then they decide to leave. So from there, it shows her going to the party. She's kind of blending in. He's giving her one of the drinks. He's like, "Drink it slow." She drinks it rather quickly, quite a few, and then it shows them kind of dancing with the music, whatever. And of course, they have a little moment where they kiss, but then something else happens where, of course, in Karen Tales situation where she starts to have a little bloody moment where her tooth starts to kind of come out, and that was one of the things that came up when she was talking to Daddy about the teeth or whatever and all. And she starts remembering that moment, and he's like, "What's wrong?" So she runs out of the house. Now there's a situation that happens where I like the way it was edited and cut, where it shows her, walking, and she hears some noise, and of course you think it's a Wildling, somebody trying to get up her hand, but it's one of the bullies that was bothering Ray's character. He tries to assault her, and she's able to get the upper hand on him and kill him, but he ripped her dress off, so her yellow dress is just there, whatever. She kind of goes somewhere, hides out, she's scared, she rinses herself off or whatever, and goes back home, whatever, what the clothes that she found, whatever. And the people in the town are looking at her funny. There's one guy who calls himself the Wolf Man. He kind of knows a lot more about her as well. He's fully aware of the situation, whichever that happened to her. And from there, it kind of questions start to come amount, whatever and all that. What happened? Do you know anything? What happened to you? Because of course Ray knows that she was a little bloody, whatever and all that when he came across her, but of course Ellen doesn't really know. But they do find her dress, and that's kind of where things kind of start to take a downturn for her. And from there, she's going out, she's doing more research. She comes across the Wolfman, who finds her in the woods, kind of, engulfed with a deer. She starts to run, and she starts running fast. More traits of things that are to come for her, and her, her evolving, her changing. And he kind of shows her the cave where she sees skulls of what used to be a wildling, the teeth and whatever and all that. And she's just, in shock about all this stuff, whichever. And of course, Ellen's trying to understand and trying to open up to her, and she's really not trying to divulge anything. And she's like, you need to tell me, stop doing this. She's trying to paint her nails to try to avoid the conversation, whatever and all. And she's acting very quiet, very mute, whatever. And of course Ray's like, talk to me. He's like, and she at first doesn't want to open up, whatever. And then there's just the scenes of where, she wants to know more. She goes to see Daddy, and she sees that he's kind of awake, whatever. And then that's kind of what happens, where he kind of finds out about the situation with the kid being killed. Now he knows it's coming, it's going to happen. We can't, she can't be protected anymore. I can protect her, or whatever. She has to be dealt with. And that's kind of where a scene happens where Ellen eventually comes home. She's run home barefoot, whatever, and she kind of handcuffs her, and it shows her locked up, whatever. She's feeding her food. She takes the meat like she normally does, whatever, and it shows Daddy show up, explain to her the situation, like, why do you tell me this? Why didn't you tell me about myself? You were trying to act like you were protecting me, but you really were not. And that's kind of the scene where you see, and it's another cop that's there. His name is Roger, who doesn't particularly care for Ellen the way she's going about dealing with the girl, because of course he knows more about the story as well, with the situation with what Anna really is. And from there, you kind of see the scenes where eventually she gets upper hand on Ellen, gets out, and of course she comes across, Ray, and then they take the the her sheriff truck, and then they kind of go into the wilderness, or whatever, and all that. And of course, they're trying to find her, trying to hunt her. He gets kind of hurt, whatever, in the water, whatever, the night before, whichever. They're just kind of sitting there, and they have an intimate moment, whichever. And of course, that's when the shootout happens, where they're trying to get away because now they got the dogs out trying to sniff her to find her, get her, so they can get rid of her. By then, she's like, they had a moment, intimate moment, where they were talking, and he's looking at her. He's like, it's gonna be all right, because he can see her nails becoming darker, kind of similar to how the wildling, and her feet. And he's like, it's not that bad. And then she makes a statement. She says, I won't. Eventually, I won't look like this, soon. And she's not realizing what she's really talking about, because he asked her, what is a wildling? What is a wildling at, and all, and she doesn't know how to really tell him or convey to him exactly what it is, whichever. So when they have the scene of the shootout, he gets injured, whatever. They run into the water, and he's like, let's go back to get my sister and all that. That's when she realizes, I need to let you go, because if you're with me, you're going to get killed. You already gotten like a shot, like a cross wound, whatever, on his arm. So he kind of realizes she's not going to go with him. So she turns, she leaves, and that's when she basically sets up for, I know I'm going through a change. Something's going to happen with me. She wants to protect him. She cares about him. It shows her putting mud on her face. It shows her prepping herself, whatever. Then it's like a storm, and it shows Ellen going that night, going through, paperwork, understanding the pictures that they found in the cave of, what looked like some type of creature eating out her stuff, and just all these little things. And she trying to understand when Ellen was trying to talk about, the wilding to her earlier, in the movie. And she's still not sure how to take it. But by then, the damage is done. It shows a little bit of a transformation scene with her at first. Of course, you hear the crackling of her body, her skin, her arms, her legs, her hands, and of course her eyes changed into like a yellowish color. Her face kind of enlarges a little bit. And that's kind of why she can, have, of course, heightened senses. She can see a little bit better, whatever. She knows she's now being hunted, and now they're being hunted, and she, has to basically fit for her life. So they do a setup where they set up around a perimeter for her not to get out with fire, because I'm assuming they don't like the fire. But then she's afraid for her part for that. So when it shows a scene where Ray, of course, meets up with her sister, she has him he's in his sling and all that. And he sees Roger setting up where he's, putting gasoline and putting all these little, things into the truck, whatever, to set up a scene for the fire to enclose her. And from there, she, lets him know, you need to get out there, whatever. So she shows up, and Roger, of course, thinks he has a one-up on her, and that's when you see a little bit of a change in her. You see her overall face, how she looks, her face is changing, whichever, and of course, she startles Ellen, whichever, in her scene. And from there, it kind of shows her touch her stomach, and that's when Ellen realizes she's not going to hurt her. She basically saved her. She knows who Ellen is. And then she runs off, whichever. And that basically kind of shows her from there going into the scene where they have her within the circle of the fire, and she kind of crawls into a part of the cave. That's when she basically embraces herself. She rips off her clothes, because she's fully a wildling now, with her body all furred out, legs on her hinges, kind of like a wolf. And that's when you see Daddy has come back, because of course he's like, we have to deal with this, whatever. You were supposed to kill her, talking about Roger, the other cop, and he didn't handle it. Once Ellen had left her locked up in that cell, he should have taken care of it from there, but he did not. So of course, that's why she was able to maneuver on Ellen and get out of there, and get where she's at now. So when he shows him, he puts some sort of, dart into her, which, has some sort of sermon to kind of, disorient her. That's when he decides to check to see, because he now knows she's pregnant. He cuts a little bit of her open, looking to check, and he makes the comment she's using, because he sees the fire. He put the little fire thing right there on the side, and she's kind of slightly paralyzed, because she's trying to move her fingers and all to try to get some type of feeling in herself, and giving him time where he's cutting her up, and you can tell she can feel a little bit of pain of him cutting her stomach, trying to check. He's like, oh, it's almost fully grown. He says, you know what? Let me just tell you, and this is what set it off, because you can tell she had enough energy to get the upper hand. When he made the statement, if it's a girl, don't worry, I will name her Anna. And that's all it needed to be said. And from there, she took care of him. She got the upper hand on him, burned him a little bit, and then she, positioned herself, came back out. And the scene of her opening her mouth, and she basically had to stretch her mouth, because you could see this tear from her mouth, and she bit into him, and he was done. And from there, It kind of just shows the part where the Wolfman reappears because she kind of falls back out, like she passes out, and it shows him sewing her back up. And first she's kind of startled, but she recognizes the guy, and then she embraces. He tells her to embrace her, her stomach, and she's okay. She feels comfortable enough that she kind of falls out again, and kind of shows a part where it shows Ellen and Ray at the end kind of seeing her in the distance, and they can tell that's her, and she knows it's them, and then she runs off. I love the scene where it shows her at the end near the Northern Lights, which is one of the things that she brought up to Ray, and then also looking at pictures when she was at the library, and it shows her holding her baby. You don't know if it's a boy or a girl, whatever, but it shows her in the distance, and she hears another wildling. She kind of looks out into the distance at the sound of where it came from, and it just shows her there caressing her baby. I just like that ending. I will say this. I thought that Belle Powley did an awesome job playing Anna. Out of all the scenes of all the characters in this movie, I enjoyed her the most. She played that wonderfully with this particular part. I enjoyed Brad Dourif, the creepiness of him playing the daddy. He was done very well. The parts with Ray were done good for what it was. Him being the rebellious old younger brother, kind of to himself a little bit, but then at times open himself up whichever to Anna, whichever, even in a little short time, whatever, and all that, them having that little bit of a bond. Now for Liv Tyler's character, I really wished with her she was a little bit more, not to say aggressive, but a little bit more, forceful. Just seemed very nonchalant, very soft spoken, and very, calm at times with and all that. When you expect, I'm sorry, for somebody who's supposed to be a sheriff, a little bit more, in that particular type of, personality, I would expect a little bit more out of that. I can understand being a little softness, but when you're within the character playing, you're playing that cop, a little bit more tough exterior, a little bit more, because you didn't see that a lot. She was like, you'd think she was playing like some type of mother, nurturing mother at times, whatever, even when she's in her position as the cop. And I just thought it was rather lackluster a lot of the times within the movie, but it is what it is. But that's why I said I really enjoyed Anna in this particular character, this movie, more so than anybody else. Belle did an amazing job. I can't say it enough. The way she played what she was given, and she did it very well. Her keen senses, her body language in certain parts, whatever. Of course, understanding what she is and embracing, her wild and whatever and all that. Just all of that. Now, not to say they're going to make another one. I doubt seriously. Possibility they could. She's out there. You never know. But I doubt if it would be her. You just never know. But in the end, overall, I loved the movie. I enjoyed it. I plan to get this. If this is out on DVD, I probably will add this to my collection of movies, whichever. Not even just a simple fact for horror, but just to add also, because I can see myself watching this again. When I watched it the first time, I actually watched it again, and I might watch it again probably in the next couple of days, just if it's nothing else on, whatever, because I really did enjoy it for what it was. So, guys, comment below. Let me know what you all think of the movie, if you all enjoyed it, if there's certain parts that you didn't like, if you felt the same way I did about Liv Tyler's character, sorry, I'm being truthful. And with that said, I will see you guys on the next review. You guys take care.